everyone, and welcome to Spring Sunday, a weekly series of family programming presented by Rockefeller Center. My name is Jeanne Garbarino, and I am going to take you through how to make DIY lotion. I'm joined today by my daughter Ruby, and we do a lot of kitchen tinkering together. And we've been in quarantine for about 15 days, so we weren't able to really go to the store and get any of the supplies, so we're going to try and use the things that we have lying around. And luckily for us, we do a ton of kitchen tinkering, so we are pretty well stocked. So the ingredients that we have today are a mixture of things that are sort of fats and oils, and these are things that we're calling hydrophobic or water fearing. And then we're going to try to mix those things together with water-based materials. And typically what happens in those situations are that they don't really mix. So Ruby, have you ever tried to make salad dressing where you plainly just added sort of oil and vinegar? What happened with that salad dressing?
The oil and vinegar separated.
Yeah, so the oil rises to the top and the vinegar sort of stays at the bottom, right? And that's because they're very different in their properties. But sometimes if you add something like mustard, right? Mustard is an example of an emulsifier. And if you add mustard, it helps to combine the oil and water components so that they don't separate. You can think about lotion as sort of like really nice salad dressing that doesn't come apart and feels good on your skin. There's a lot of different kinds of emulsions that you are probably very familiar with. My favorite one is something that we buy in the summer, or we sometimes make in the summer. You pop it into a waffle cone or a sugar cone, throw some sprinkles on it.
It's ice cream.
Ice cream. Ice cream is a really good example of an emulsion. All right, so let's get going. So what are we using today? First and foremost, we are starting with a clean workspace, right? And everything that we're doing is with clean materials. These are things that we are going to be putting on our bodies, and so we want to make sure that that stuff just is clean to begin with. All right, and everything that we're using is also food grade, so it's either food or food grade cosmetic ingredients, and that's because we just want to treat our skin really well. All right, the skin is our largest organ, and we want to keep it moisturized, especially now as we're washing our hands like nonstop. And so we want to use really good ingredients to put on our skin. Okay, so the stuff that we're using here is the basic materials are, we have a double boiler, right? So this is just some water that's boiling currently in a saucepan, and I've placed a glass bowl on top of it to sort of fashion that double boiler. We have a couple of measuring cups, so we're going to measure all the oil components in one measuring cup and all of the water components in another measuring cup. We are just using an immersion stick blender, the kind that you would use if you're making soups or purees of any kind, and a mixing bowl. And then we have a kitchen scale, just a spoon and a spatula. Here is our giant stock of coconut oil. I happen to always keep emulsifying wax on hand, and we're going to use, these are the oils that I have laying around. So I have some avocado oil, some olive oil, we have a little bit of water, which I've labeled H2O. H2O is the chemical formula for water, so it's 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogens. We found some aloe laying around, so we're going to use that. And then we have a clean 4-ounce jar. This jar holds about 100 milliliters, and the ingredient list that we're going to use will make about 500 milliliters of lotion, which is about a little less than 20 ounces. And then for later, when we're done, my girls have selected 2 scents that they're going to use inside of their lotion when it's done. And of course, we don't do anything without labeling what it is. All right, so we are going to start with Ruby, and Ruby's going to be the person who is going to do all the work, and I'm just going to narrate. So Ruby's going to start by weighing out some emulsifying wax. So we're going to use this measuring cup. This will be our oil-based measuring cup. Okay, so Ruby, let's turn it on. All right, and it's set. Oh, let's set it to grams because I'm a scientist and I only know how to do things in grams. And now Ruby is going to hit this thing called tare. And tare will make it so that it's at 0. So this is at baseline. All right, so we're going to use these little wax pellets called emulsifying wax. And this is, again, cosmetic grade. You can get this at, online, is where I usually get them. And they're really not that expensive, but they look like little sort of things of wax. Okay, so Ruby, go ahead and why don't you use the spoon, and let's see. We are measuring out 30 grams right, of emulsifying wax. $28 grams. We're at 28 grams. Okay, almost there. Okay, 30. Wow, 30 grams on the money. That's pretty good, Rube. All right, so Ruby, why don't you go ahead? You can use the spoon and sort of get it into the double boiler. I really like to clean as I go. I think that's a really key thing in making sure that your workspace remains uncluttered, and that also helps with safety. Okay, so Ruby's popping that into the double boiler. And next we're gonna measure out. So if you wanna put the measuring cup back on the scale and tare it. Why don't you try the avocado oil? So we can see that the avocado oil, we're putting about 60 grams of avocado oil in there. Let's see if you can get it exact on the money. So that amount was about 10 grams. Now we're at 23 grams. Keep going. 29. Alright. And alright, so we're polishing off the avocado oil. Alright, let's pop that in there. Thank you, little bird. Go ahead and put it into... We're starting to get the materials to start melting into one another, which is really good. Alright, so Ruby's going to do this process another time, and this time she's going to do it with the olive oil and the coconut oil. So go for the olive oil.
60 grams.
60 grams. Alright. And she's tearing the scale each time so that it starts at 0, and that's a really important thing. Let's go. A little bit more. Keep going. Keep
I
going.
got 62.
Okay, good. Alright, put that bad boy in. Alright, so she's going to add it, and then our last bit of oil-based material or hydrophobic components is going to be the coconut oil. So I've already sort of taken some out for you, Rooster. Alright, so we're still on grams. You can use this. Yeah. There you go. That's a little tricky. Now, we're not looking for, 6. That's good enough. You don't have to be extremely precise. It's okay if things are a little off. This is about tinkering. It's about having fun. It's about exploring what happens if you do make a mistake. What can you learn from that? So I don't really like to go super exact. Put this away.
Now we have to do 320 grams of water.
So lotions are something called a water and oil emulsion. All right. All right. And Ruby, you're at 32. That's good enough. So we're going to add that to the bowl. And then the last ingredient that we are going to add is aloe. Now we have this aloe laying around because this summer we were playing so hard when we were at the beach that we all forgot to reapply our sunblock, and we ended up with a sunburn. And we needed the aloe, so we felt better, but also it's a reminder of, make sure you stop and put on your sunblock. Bad mom. That's who I am. Bad mom. All right. And so as we wait a few more minutes for, if you want to come and take a look, you can see that our emulsifying wax is starting to melt into the oils. They're sort of equilibrating a little bit. And while that's finishing up, what Ruby is going to do right now is start to blend the aloe. So if you want to come take a look and see how the aloe is sort of out there. So Ruby's gonna do a little bit of blending in there to try to just get that together, and it's gonna create a little interesting foam. Let's pull this out of the way. Our oil materials are now mixed together. They've all melted together. They're all around the same temperature, and we're gonna slowly drizzle this into the water components. And to do that, I'm just gonna transfer this. This is a hot bowl, so I'm just gonna transfer this into a measuring cup because I think this is a little bit easier for me to work with. All right. So now Ruby's gonna turn this on. And I'm gonna very slowly drizzle in. It's really key that you go slow because this is really warm and that's kind of room temperature, and we want it to mix appropriately. So the temperature does play a key role. All right, so Ruby, why don't you keep going with that? Yeah. And I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna just really slowly start. We're talking a tiny stream. Getting it in. Okay, so you can already see how it's starting to come together. It looks a little bit thicker, and it's starting to come together to look like a lotion. All right, go ahead. So we're just gonna keep going. Oh wow, this is looking really good. Really starting to come together in a nice lotion fashion. It's kind of like making whipped cream or butter. Yeah, we take butter. All right, we're getting there. So this is Gwen, and Gwen is going to finish up the emulsifying with the immersion blender. And Gwen and Ruby both use the immersion blender. It does have a very sharp blade at the end of it, so make sure that your children are using this under adult supervision. All right, go ahead, Gwen. Whatever floats your boat. And you can already see how the lotion is coming together in a nice, beautiful, thick, silky outcome here. Looking good in the neighborhood. Alright. I think we're at a part where maybe we can start putting some of the lotion into our jar, Gwen. What do you say? Yeah? All right, so Gwen's gonna scrape some of that off. Just to make sure we get all of the lotion that we're making. Great. Ruby, why don't you help her get it into this jar? All right, so I'm gonna start putting it into this little 4-ounce mason jar. All right, you can see that it's falling out in these little ribbons, which is really nice, and it's going to continue to get thicker as it cools even more. Great. And what they've done here is they have joined two normally immiscible components, a water component and an oil component, and they are now using it to make a wonderful cosmetic through science and chemistry. Now, the last thing that we're going to do is Ruby and Gwen have selected a scent. They are going to use lemon. What scent are you using?
Tea tree and lemongrass.
Lemongrass. Now, how many drops are you going to use of those?
One each.
One each. Yeah, because otherwise it's really strong. So word to the wise.
Especially the tea tree.
Yeah, you definitely want to have only a couple of drops of oil in there. All right, that's one. That's two. Okay, why don't you mix it around? Oh wow, I can smell it already. Too bad we don't have smell-o-vision for the YouTube. All right, how's that looking for you?
Good.
Good? Cool. All right.
Smells good.
Smells good? All right. How does it feel?
Very good.
Very
Feels
good?
even softer than most lotions.
Ooh,
Less
wow.
sticky.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the last step that we have to do?
Put the cap on and label it with what it is and the date.
Correct. Because we always need to know. The thing about the lotion that we're making today is that the lotion will not have any preservatives in it. Often the lotions that you are purchasing from the store, you know, cosmetic stores or maybe the pharmacy, these things always have some level of preservative inside of them. And preservatives are fine. I just don't have any in my house right now. And what a preservative does is it prevents the growth of microbial life, like molds and mildews or other types of fungus or bacteria. And this is completely normal, right? Because there's bacteria and other types of little microbes that are growing in, on, and around us. And as we put our hands into the lotion and put it on, we're actually contaminating the lotion with a bit of our own bacteria that might find that to be a really nice and suitable home, and they might start growing and propagating, or maybe a little bit of moisture came in, or, you know, there's all sorts of ways that you can get a little bit of microbial life that sort of moves in and is like, oh yeah, this is a nice home, I'm gonna grow here, right? And so the way I like to keep that from happening in these DIY kinds of situations is to just keep my lotion in the fridge until I'm using it. And the fridge, the low temperature will help to slow any kind of microbial life. Now, if you open up your lotion and you find that there might be a little bit of microbes on top of it, that's fine, there's no problem. All you need to do is just throw it out and make some new lotion, because now you know how to make it. And the really cool thing about making lotion and other types of cosmetics in your house is that you are making things that do not have a disposable sort of component to them. So we don't have to worry about garbage or plastics or single-use plastics going back into our oceans and other waste streams. And so I really like making lotions for that reason as well. So anyway, that is emulsion science and DIY lotion making with Jeanne, Ruby, and Gwen. And we're really happy that you joined us today, and we hope to see you again soon. Here's your lotion. Let's try it. I'm gonna take it off of this. Oh, it feels good. Feels really good. Nice job. All right. Okay, see you later.